Good afternoon, Frederick. I am so excited to be here today. I'm doing things a little different. I'm outside today on Next on the Mic, but I'm excited to be out in the Amber Meadows community. We're having our community barbecue. So if you want some free food and to get vaccinated, please come out and join us and congregate in the Amber Meadows community. And if you have any kids, please bring them. We're gonna have foam out here and food and fun. So please bring your kids to play in this foam because I'm gonna play in the foam. But today we have our guest here. It's Nakeem Wellington, and she is actually a resident in Frederick, and she's gonna be on my show today. And I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
And Nakeem, first, you've been a communications professor for 15 years, professional for 15 years. Tell me about that.
Oh, goodness. Well, I will say I started as a communications professional working at Georgetown University early in my career in various different capacities. One of which being at the business school and then transitioning into another role within the within the Lombardi Comprehensive Cancer Center, which is within the medical center.
Okay.
So I focused on research, communication around cancer, research, those sorts of things. And in the last 10 years, I've then transitioned into global health. So I'm a communications professional in international development, where I focus on how do you bring communities into a conversation around bringing healthcare to their communities.
Right.
So what does that look like? Is it a primary care facility? Is it a midwife? Is it what are those elements that make a community healthy?
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and you are helping other organizations get their stories out. Tell me about that. Like, so if I wanted to get my story out, how would you?
how would this work?
How would that work?
in this space. So I work for a consulting company that's kind of contracted by the U.S. government to go and implement programs, but we do that in partnership with organizations on the ground.
Okay.
Grassroots civil society organizations that have been working in communities for very long periods of time to help those communities have access to things like water or sanitation. And we help them advocate to their governments in order to do that. And what we do in support of helping them is to then help them talk about what it is they do, to create narratives about it, to storytell about what it is they're doing and the impact it has, and to bring these people's voices to life, as a form of advocacy, as a form of trying to get governments to understand that there are communities that have needs, and there are these organizations working very hard there with very limited means, and we try and raise their visibility globally to try and get governments to invest in these communities.
And I'm glad that you're talking about that, about communities. We are in the Amber Meadows community, and everybody knows that in my talk show, we always talk about educating the community and the community being knowledgeable about what's in their community. And right now, our focus is on the Amber Meadows community, and NAC is so important to the community. You guys, if you are not part of NAC in your community, please join NAC and to advocate for your community of what you want to see change. And so and a lot of people don't join NAC because they don't know what it is. So could you please tell us what NAC is and like what's the whole mission of NAC and how people can get involved?
Sure. So similarly, as I just said about working with those civil society community-based organizations that help bring together community members to discuss their needs, NACs serve a very similar function. So there are, I think, 12 NACs, give or take, that kind of cross the whole city. I am one of the coordinators for the NAC 11, the Neighborhood Advisory Council 11, which essentially covers downtown, the historic district. It tracks with that mapping. And what we do as organizers is that we put together, we have monthly meetings. They can be at different frequencies. But we invite the community to come in and talk to us about what's going on. Block by block. Are they having an issue with something like trash not being picked up, or what would having a trash can somewhere that would make things more easier for the neighborhood if they're having a trash issue. Things as simple as that. Some things are bigger, which have to do with development planning. But ultimately, it's a forum for neighbors to come and talk about ways to improve their own communities, to advocate for their own needs and their own wants, and to kind of help shape the environment they want to be in. And within that structure, us as coordinators, as NACs, we then communicate that with city leadership.
Mm-hmm.
We're hearing from our constituents in this community that what they really need are these few things.
Right.
And often there's a representative from the city who comes to all of those meetings. He is, charged with kind of hearing our concerns
Right.
and taking them back. We often have aldermen who come, or alder persons who will come and listen in on certain issues. And then we also have, representatives from various city uh, agencies or directors that can come and talk about, well, what it is that they're doing
Mm-hmm.
and what it is that we need, and kind of come to some agreement about how to help move the neighborhoods forward. That is what the NACs are for.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can community people join the NAC, or is it just how they get involved with that?
So every resident in the city is a part of a NAC.
Okay.
Right? It's
Okay.
not just, there's coordinators who are tasked with some of that administrative function of helping to organize the meetings and put together the agendas and make sure city representatives are there. But everybody's a member of a NAC.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter, where you live in that NAC or how you live in that NAC, you can always show up to those meetings and share your concerns.
Right. And so Amber Meadows is NAC 3.
Mm-hmm.
So is there you guys were doing NAC online.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys started meeting in person, and how's that been going?
Yeah, so we're hoping, we have been meeting virtually, and that has caused a little bit of a disconnect, I think, between residents in the city, but we're hoping to go back to in-person meetings in September, October, tracking with where we are with our COVID numbers and what's safe and what's appropriate. So yes.
Okay. And when you guys have those NAC meetings, are there discussions that happen that actually make change? Do people see the change in the NAC meetings? And how do you guys strategize about that when they come with their concerns? I think a lot of people don't know who to go to, right? So it's they go to this NAC meeting and they think you can move mountains. It's okay, that's not we're not the people to do that.
Yeah.
How do you navigate people when they come to the NAC meetings of who to go to make change and get things done?
Yeah. So that's a tricky question, right? Because there's different levels of government that do different things. And as NAC, we can always raise the visibility of concerns, but we can't necessarily direct staff to do something or the city to allocate funds to something. Sometimes that's a longer process, right? It depends on what the issue might be.
Right.
So maybe for some of the less complicated issues, something to do with a park or something to do with those sorts of issues, we can get Parks and Rec to kind of come out and take a look and try and help with those sorts of things. The more complex issues tend to take a little bit more advocacy. And so as NAC corners, oftentimes I can only speak to my own NAC. What we will do is we have people who will volunteer to do subcommittees on certain topics if they're of enough importance.
Okay.
Where they will have champions that'll be from the community who take an interest in doing research and crafting recommendations for how to address certain things.
Okay.
And we see ourselves as advocates. We're citizen advocates. That's what we can do.
Right? Okay.
We can advocate for change. But if we don't know what the issues are, because we're not in every community, I live on one block, other coordinators live on other blocks. We know that there's more people in that community. We're only as effective as the engagement that we have.
Right.
So here in Amber Meadows, it's the same thing. If you have coordinators, you can be reaching out to them. All of their contact information is on the city website. So if you find your NAC, you can reach out to them and say, I want to talk to somebody from Parks and Rec or from whatever division it might be at our next meeting about this topic.
Okay.
And they can reach out to the city on your behalf and make sure somebody's there to have that conversation. Right. And then from there, the kind of ongoing conversation and coordination is a little bit hit or miss at times, but there are moments where you can be, where NAC representatives can be very effective in bridging community concerns and city government.
Okay. And so a lot of people have talked about how politics is not something that they do, right? So how are you able to let people know that this is a nonpartisan and that Democrat and Republicans can be part of NAC, and they will realize that they all have the same issues. It doesn't matter your party, right?
Right. So quality of life issues don't have a D or an R behind them.
No,
right? Let's just stop right there.
Right.
If you live in a community and you have a concern,
right,
whether it, particularly if it has something to do with infrastructure or if it has something to do with a park in your community, we're blessed with a lot of parks in this city. If there's something to do with public safety, if it's street sweeping, whatever that issue might be, doesn't have a DNR affiliation, I feel it the same as you feel it,
Right.
right? It doesn't matter who we vote for.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I mean, functions of city government, whether there's
Mhm.
DNR there,
Mhm.
still needs to
It
function
still needs
for
to
the people,
function for
right?
the
Because that's
people.
ultimately what that's about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I thank you for coming on my show.
Yeah.
And do you have any questions for me, or because NAC 3 is Amber Meadows
Mhm.
NAC. And I do have one more question. How do they elect the people in the seat that they're in?
Yeah. So to become a NAC, I think
Oh
a NAC
my.
coordinator, a lot of foam. Um, there, you can just go into the city website and there's an application where you can click and you can submit your application to become a NAC coordinator for your specific area.
Mhm.
It then goes to City Hall, to the mayor, and I think a couple members of his staff, and
Right.
they review it, and they then send it along to the Board of Aldermen and make the recommendation for whoever the applicant is to start as a new coordinator, and the Board of Aldermen approve it for a
Mhm.
2-year term. And it's as simple as that. And the more people that get involved, the more people who volunteer, the better we are, the
Yes.
stronger we are.
Yes.
Because just like I started this with, real change and community investment in public safety starts really in the neighborhood.
Yes.
It
Yes.
doesn't
Yes.
start with an alderman. It doesn't start with a mayor. It starts with people on your block who care about the block they live on.
Yeah.
All right. So I just want to put that out there too.
Yes. Well, thank you for that.
welcome.
And I hope that everybody please join your NAC. Please make sure that you go to the meetings.
Yeah.
And if you want to be more involved, make sure that you advocate.
Mhm.
And if you feel like you could be part of a board, I mean, put your name in that.
I just say I have a full-time job and I do this as a
Right.
volunteer, so it's possible.
Yeah, it's possible. So I don't know if I have any questions. I do have one question.
Okay, this one was provided by the community. It said, I heard there were gunshots or gunfire in the area recently. I don't see any news or reports about it. How can NAC help us stay informed?
Yeah,
Good question.
that is a good question. And I will say this. So for the NAC 11 meetings where we meet downtown once a month, we have points of contact for our NAC coordinators within the police department. If we hear neighborhood concerns about something that's going on, we are fully empowered to reach out and ask for more information. Where they also, police representatives attend these NAC meetings and they give summaries of what's going on in your community based on what's happened. So it's another place to get informed about what's happening. If you don't see it on the news, but you just heard it,
Mhm.
contact your NAC rep
Mhm.
and say, hey, I heard about this. So
Yeah. Thank you for that. And hopefully that we will have people discuss that in the next NAC meeting
there you go.
because it is one coming up. How do you guys like monthly? How do y'all schedule those out?
Yeah, so it depends on which community you're in, right? And the spirit of, responding to the neighborhood you're in. And the downtown and the NAC 11 downtown, we meet
Mhm.
monthly.
Okay.
Because of the density of the area, we have a lot of different concerns, a lot of different issues, and a mix of residents and businesses and all sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
But then there are other NACs that might meet every other month. There's some NACs that meet every quarter. But again, it's up to those people who go to those meetings to shape how often should we meet? When do we think is the right frequency for us?
Mm-hmm.
But that's a part of getting the NAC. You don't have to be a coordinator to be a part of the conversation.
Right.
Right.
I agree. Thank you for that. Another question?
Yeah, so this one comes from the audience. I don't live in the city, but I shop and or visit. How can I support the NACs?
That is a really good question.
That's a good question.
I actually hadn't even thought of that one. Thank you. I think if you live or you shop in the city, you can, if you want to come to a meeting, they're open to everybody. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
If there is a meeting that you want to go to be supportive, feel free to come. And if you want to be supportive of the NACs and you don't live in the city, you can also be an advocate for the NACs with our city leadership and representatives so that they are, feeling as though they should invest in this NAC structure and they should empower us to be true voices for our communities. So it could be something as simple as, writing to our mayor, writing to our alderman and saying, I think this is a really valuable function and I think that it should continue and I think it should be supported. So that could be one way.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
And do we have any other questions? Oh, we do have another question.
Okay. I guess we're going.
Where do the NACs meet? How often?
Yeah. So I think we were.
We just said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me restate that for the mic.
Sure.
Where do the NACs meet and how often? How many NACs are there and how do I join?
Yeah, so there are roughly 12 NACs. They cover the entire city, right? So every community is within a NAC structure. The map, you can find out what NAC you're in by going to the city website. You can enter in your street address, and it'll tell you what NAC you're in.
Okay.
They meet in different places. So the one downtown, when we were meeting in person, we were meeting at a restaurant that would give us space, and others meet at community centers in their own communities. Right now we're virtual, so it's super easy. If you can get online, there's one link on the website to get into the meetings. It tells you exactly when they're happening because they're different by different NACs, and you don't have to join. You are a part of the NAC already, so you can just show up whenever you feel like it. If you have something to discuss, if you just want to listen in, go to the website, see when your next meeting is, and go ahead and just plan to attend.
Thank you for that. Have any more questions? Okay. Well, thank you for coming out.
Sure.
And I look forward to seeing you out in the community.
Absolutely.
And I definitely will be at your NAC meetings.
Please do. Everybody's welcome to come to the NAC 11 meetings. We have one coming up at the end of the month on the 24th. It'll be virtual, 7 p.m. We'll have a lot of updates. So even if you're just curious, you can feel free to come to NAC 11 and listen in and then think about how you can take some of that back to your own community. I think even that would be great.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right.
We're good? Yeah. We're good.
All right.
Okay.
Well,